Yeah, yeah. I think it's even more complicated than programming. It's like it's a higher level of programming that what we have even understand, and we don't even know where all the information is coming from.
Well, again, complex life forms, but you have to look back and understand that this has not been an always perfect situation. We came from little by little making ourselves better because that's natural selection. What makes it better for the species, how it's able to survive better. You go back. What did you say, Dave?
Didn't?
Oh, sorry. I swear I heard you. No, I mean there are plenty of examples of species within the history of our planet that show that they weren't exactly up to the task, didn't survive very well, yet their ancestors did better.
The problem is, I can understand why you would think evolution doesn't exist if you don't accept that the universe is old.
Richard, thank you for joining.
I would think that if you're appealing to deep time, you're actually appealing to infinite possibilities, and I don't
Within
really
the context
see.
of biology, you could potentially say that the numbers involved are so big.
I have
Yeah.
a question though.
Yeah.
Do you believe in forensic science? Do you believe in DNA indicating if someone was present at the time of a crime?
Yeah.
You do.
Yeah.
So, do you believe that when a man and a woman have babies that they share DNA to make the new baby?
Yeah.
Okay. So how do you not believe in evolution? Because that's all it is.
Because it's you can only copy what's already there. You can't copy.
But you're
every-
not taking 100% of one parent and 100% of the other parent and mixing that together. You're only getting a certain amount from each parent, and there are going to be changes, right?
but they're all copies from the same original copy anyway.
No, it's not a copy. It all comes from an allele selection.
I think
You
there's
can
an
have-
average at least 100 mutations between parents and their kids.
Sure, and there is a lot of degradation in non-functional, mechanisms inside of us. But
No, I'm not talking about non-functional mechanisms. I'm
We're
talking
not
about genetics,
talking about
period.
genetics, just DNA, like crime scene DNA, and just having children.
okay,
I mean,
I
so-
like
the way-
there's certain things that a child will get from each parent, right?
yeah, but you would be
Jungle.
for evolution. You would be relying on unrelated mistakes to write programming
No.
that's not there, right?
No, you're not. Not
No, no.
necessarily.
Right, well,
Like,
if Mama wants to put
if-
her bit in after Faye, and then we'll pass over to Dave.
Like each parent brings something to the table. You only really get mistakes if you keep reproducing with your cousin, or you end up having babies with your own father a couple million times. You know what I
The
mean?
mistakes, yeah. So
But like we're not talking. We're
So-
talking about sharing DNA and having children. You keep doing that. You keep,
so you'll have
children,
variations. You'll have
eventually
variations.
you
so-
end up with people who may not look like their great grandparents because of the different, like, either sexual choices or everything involved. You keep doing that for millions of years, you're not going to recognize that person
so,
as that person's relative. You know
so
what I mean?
you're basically saying that you just have variations of humans, warped humans or something.
It's not
I
about
wish you
being
wouldn't say warped.
Let-
Okay, I'm
That's
tagging
not-
out because I can't deal with warped.
Okay, Mama, you go on ahead.
Do you understand how genetics work? We all have recessive and genetic genes, and when that is passed on, it is not a direct copy, even a half a copy. You're talking about picking certain genes that are recessive, dominant, recessive, that kind of thing. It's different, although embedded within the code of the parent figure. You don't end up with direct copies or even half copies. You end up with something
Yeah, so-
similar but different.
from what I understand, there's a lot of variation. It goes back and forth, more of this, less of that, and more of that, less of this, but it basically goes back and forth is what I understand.
I don't understand. I don't understand what you mean by that. Can you explain it
Well,
a little bit, please?
Yeah, things that make you who you are, whether tall, short, or whatever, pigment, all that stuff, that's just basic, variation.
Yes.
That tends to
So
go
that's
back
what
and forth.
evolution is.
Yeah.
That's what I'm not seeing. I'm not seeing that as being evolution.
Well, if I can ask a question and then I'll give it over to Dave. You're agreeing that there is variation between parents and kids. Well, if the variation between, say, the starting level parent is 1 and then we've kids generation 2 and 3 and 4, the variation increases, and by the time we get to generation 10, it's obviously still going to be a human, but the variation is there. Like, where does the level come of speciation? If you agree with variation, when does it become speciation? If you can answer that, and then I'll pass over to Dave.
Well, it's only going to have characteristics of information that's already there, and like you said, there will be variation on down the line, but it's basically not going to write any instruction that was never already there. It's just basically recombining information that was already there with mistakes.
Yes, but that ultimately equals more things. Each time it's a variation. It's a Rubik's cube. Each time it comes out with something slightly different, and sometimes that works. Most of the time it doesn't.
Right.
Most of the time it doesn't do anything. But those
then you would
variations-
have. Then that would require infinite time, basically, for infinite
It wouldn't
possibilities.
require infinite time, but it would require a long time, which is why my point was, I can understand why you would not accept evolution if you do not accept an old Earth. If you do not accept billions of years.
Right, because 50 million years or even less, even 15 million years would wash all the sediment layers into the ocean. There would be no sediment layers, which I believe are from the global flood anyways.
Global flood we know didn't happen.
I know that Richard has a
It's a
different
part
point of
of
view on the flood. If I want to give Richard a chance to maybe throw a voice in as well, if Richard's anything to add, either for I know that he is, I wouldn't go so far as saying...